Winning. The thrill of victory and avoiding the agony of defeat begins by building a strong foundation. Create a mindset that helps you overcome obstacles and allows you to achieve greatness. This is Don Guyman for the win.
Fear. Fear is one of the most debilitating words in the English language. When we make decisions based upon fear, we stop growth. When we make decisions based upon fear, we make decisions that in the long run turn out to be bad. Today, as I was walking my dog Zeus, it began to rain. It began to rain very heavily. And I thought back to the end of spring, early summer, when many people were concerned that in our area we were going to have floods. We had a record snowfall. And previously, when we had record snowfalls, there had been flooding in our area. But they'd made many infrastructure improvements since then, but still the fear of flooding existed. The city offered each of us 10 sandbags. I thought about getting the sandbags, but realized that sandbags weren't going to do much to protect my property. If I got a sandbag and protected one area, it would just go into my neighbor's yard. And I didn't quite know what, if anything, good the sandbags would do for me. And also realized that the water was getting to my home. We had a lot bigger problems than that. I do know people who got sandbags. But I also recognize that as I look at these individuals, many of them live their life based upon fear. Because as with me, the sandbags wouldn't have done much for them. They'd have had a lot bigger problem if the water would have got to them. And I also noticed that when I was walking previously, I walked along a canal about a half mile from my home and recognized that none of the people who property bordered the canal had any sandbags up. So we didn't have any flooding, things stayed normal, and we were able to have a normal, comfortable summer. And I don't have 10 sandbags that I have to get rid of. But fear, we make bad choices. From my book, God Will Send a Boat, which you can purchase on Amazon, there's a part of the book that talks about making decisions based upon fear and trying to remove the toxic from our lives. We often mistake the counsel, love everyone, to mean we must include everyone. Not true. We can forgive, but do not have to include everyone in our lives. We hear tragic stories of abused women who stay in abusive relationships for too long. The concern is that just like a poison, like thallium, is often too late to recognize the loss of self-worth because it happens over time. We become used to the abuse to the point we feel uncomfortable when we don't experience the abuse. As a young boy, I grew up on a farm. For many summers, I worked as we harvested hay on hundreds of acres in southern Utah. The hay baler would come down a row and make a bale. A truck or a hay wagon would pick up the bales to transport to the barn, where we would keep the hay to sell or feed the cattle in winter. To save time and money, a young boy is cheap labor, I would combine the rows of hay to reduce the trip the truck or hay wagon would have to make. Whenever we would start the summer, my hands would be very sore, but invariably I would find that by the end of the summer, I would have calluses on the hands. Hands that hurt at the beginning of the summer did not have that problem at the end. My hands became hardened over time, and the same can happen to our spirits. They become hardened. When forming relationships, we must set firm boundaries at the very beginning. If someone is hurting your soul, you must immediately let it go. No good will come to you by continuing allowing toxicity in your life. I was recently confronted with having to make a difficult decision to leave a toxic environment. It was hard. But after I made that decision to leave the toxic environment, I found peace in my life. I'll note that after I make that decision, I recently bought a Fitbit, and the 3 best nights of sleep that I've had came after I had made the decision to leave that toxicity. Leaving toxic environments and making decisions based upon being brave and courageous, not out of fear, will only help us in our life. Always remember that we were not given the spirit of fear. We were given the spirit to be courageous. We were given the spirit to be brave. So go out and make decisions based upon being courageous, based upon being brave. Leave behind the toxicity and recognize and realize the greatness in your life. This has been Don Guyman.